Hello, I'm Dow Bartling. Welcome to another episode of Dow's Weekly Digest. The older I am, the more that I think. And I think we need to keep it simple. As we communicate back and forth, keep it simple. Are we speaking the common language? Are we speaking the language that the audience is? Whether that be an audience of one or an audience of 100, are we speaking their language? And two, do we know what they are maybe asking us, or they want us to communicate to them? Or are we assuming? And we know what the word assume can mean. It can definitely make an ass out of you and me. With that thought, I think of a couple little stories. In my much younger days, I had thrust upon me the position of scoutmaster. Scoutmaster for a fairly new troop. I mean, the troop wasn't even a year old. You see, the current scoutmaster was a doctor, and his firm was growing so fast that he didn't have time. And he was honest with us and stepped down. And when he made that statement, someone needed to step forward and become the scoutmaster. Well, it was one of those where you kind of look around and he says, will the new scoutmaster please step forward? And everybody steps back maybe one step, and there you are. It's been thrust upon you. So being that new scoutmaster with a group of new boys, these boys just came over from Cub Scouts. So these new boys, it was definitely for both of us a learning path. So we're on this camping trip, going camping, and we fill up the van. There I am driving, got an assistant scoutmaster Reed with, and we have our two deep leadership, and we're going down the road. Sure enough, one of the boys, Joey, he asks a question. Joey asks a question. He says, Ed, can I ask you a question? I said, sure, Joey, go ahead. I'll answer as best I can. He says, Ed, why are there scouts of different color? I said, scouts of different color. I said, well, boy, that's quite a question, Joey. But here goes. I said, when mankind was made and they were gathering around the Near East and in Africa, then at a certain part they dispersed. And when they dispersed, the good Lord God in his wisdom then gave mankind different attributes. And what I mean by that, Joey, is that the closer people are to the equator, and you know the sun's pretty hot on the equator, isn't it? Well, those mankind that are close to the equator, the good Lord gave them almost a type of a sunscreen with the coloration of their skin. And that natural sunscreen assisted them from the ultraviolet rays and so forth, because they were in direct line with the sun there. As mankind then moved away from the equator, much more up north, let's say maybe Reed being Norwegian background, then the good Lord saw to make their skin color much more lighter. Why? Because they needed the sunlight, and from the sunlight and their light skin, they could absorb vitamin D, and vitamin D helps us make strong bones. And so you see, in good Lord's wisdom, he made mankind, so scouts and all mankind, different colors. Did that answer your question? And Joey kind of looks a bit, kind of moves his shoulders a little bit. He says, well, maybe I guess so. But really, Ed, I was asking in Scouts, why do some have black neckerchiefs and some have maybe a butterscotch neckerchief? Different colors. Why are Scouts different colors? Different neckerchiefs. Oh boy, I didn't know what Joey was asking. I didn't take the time to ask him further questions to maybe define what he meant by color there. I really stepped into it there. Another example, on a professional note, there was a young man, Bob, and Bob was a fairly new agent. Now, Bob grew up from an agricultural background. Bob was a hard worker, being from an agricultural background, and he was doing fairly well. Well, Bob knew around his section where his folks lived, a section of land there, that over a ways there was a farmer rancher that was fairly well-to-do. And he had a couple kids, and from what his beginning background in the insurance market was, and what he knew of it, he might have a risk of estate taxes. But he wasn't quite comfortable yet. So he brought in an experienced financial advisor, Tom. Now, Tom was very experienced, and he was very astute in the estate planning market itself. So he felt pretty good bringing Tom in, that they would be able to explain and motivate this well-to-do farm rancher that life insurance might be one of his solutions. So they get there. He introduces Tom to the farmer rancher, and just because he gets done, farmer rancher says, well, I want you to know right away here that I don't need any life insurance. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really believe in life insurance. And you both probably know I'm a multi-millionaire. You could get in your pickup today and drive, and you wouldn't be off my land. And it took a lot of hard work to get there. And it didn't take life insurance. I don't believe in life insurance. If I had one penny, I could tell you this, it wouldn't be spent on life insurance. Well, Tom, being experienced as he was, he kind of, you might say, got on the same side of the table as the farmer rancher. He says, you know, I can see what you mean. And indeed, you have got quite an estate here with this beautiful, beautiful farm ranch. Imagine it took generations to build that. But it sure did. He says, I agree. You don't need life insurance. But I could maybe share with you this. The way that the U.S. government, and particularly the IRS, has life insurance classified, and the way they treat life insurance, particularly the proceeds, that is quite an advantage. And in fact, if it would take anything else other than life insurance, I would be saying use land, use some of your prized cattle, use your stocks, whatever it might be, other than life insurance. But you see, life insurance has got kind of a special name tag on it that the IRS has given it. And the way things are currently, that would be a big advantage to you. And that'd be why we here today are recommending life insurance. He says, well, I can appreciate your education on life insurance, but like I said, I don't need any life insurance. I don't want any life insurance, and I don't see that I totally have a problem there. Well, with that, the young man who brought Tom, he kind of looked down and kind of kicked the dirt a little bit, and then he reached down to the ground and he pulled up a bag. that he had brought. And he kind of laid that bag down on the, the back of the pickup, and he started to pull some things out. Rancher is kind of looking as Tom is looking. Because Tom really thought, okay, time for us to go. Because right at the end there, that farmer rancher says, as I said, I don't believe in life insurance, and don't let the door hit you in the butt when you leave. But like I said, the young man just took his time, kind of kicked the ground, and pulled out items from his bag. Well, he says, as Tom pointed out, you have really built up quite a farm ranch here. And I know, not living too far from here, of your reputation, and indeed, you are respected all over this county. That being said, I think what Tom was trying to get across to us today was this. Let's say we have these 3 cows. And let's say these cows, let's call these cows actually cash cows. Now these 3 cash cows represent your enterprise here, your legacy here. They represent the years of breeding that you've done in raising one of the top dairy cattle in the nation. They represent the machinery and the barns and all the equipment that you have to maintain that quality that I spoke of. And then finally, cash cow 3 would be your investments that you may have. Those 3 cash cows. And I think what Tom was trying to say to us, in the way that I understand it, in plain language, is the way that Congress has got the law right now, that when you die, the IRS is going to come in and take 2 of your cash cows. They're going to butcher them and they're going to take the meat. 2 of those cash cows. Leaving for your family only 1 of those cash cows. The way that currently the law is written. Do I think it'll change? I don't have a crystal ball. But I do know this, and I know you know that, with all the years that you have behind you, that Congress never does anything really fast, do they? And so that situation is going to be here today and tomorrow. It's just going to depend on what you would like to do. Because you see, what Tom was getting at is that we just take each one of those cash cows and we just take a little milk from each one of them. Each one of those cash cows. And when we do so, then we're going to use that milk to buy a life insurance policy. Because you see, that life insurance policy is going to be able to take care of and actually shield your cash cows. It's going to be a shelter belt. That shelter belt is going to protect your cash cows because it's going to take care of the IRS. When the IRS comes knocking at the door, they're going to take care of it. That's going to leave all of your cash cows for your legacy. All we need is a little milk. Well, then this time the farmer rancher kind of kicks the dirt and looks up. He says, well, every good farm rancher knows this. It's far better to take a little milk from all the cows than it is to actually sell a good cow. With that, the young man made the sale. He kept it simple. He used objects, an object lesson, and he spoke the farmer rancher's language. Whereas the expert couldn't do so. So indeed, keep it simple. We tell our internal wholesalers all the time to keep it simple and ask enough questions that you know exactly what the situation is. As we look at that risk mitigation, are we speaking of dying too early, becoming ill or disabled, or the risk of longevity? Drill in there and make sure that you're speaking their language and you understand what they are inquiring about. Because, after all, blessed are they who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. You take care.